waits, fires and scores! Michkov has his first goal at the Wells Fargo Center.
This is episode 123 of the Liberty Yell. I am your host, Chris Stumpo, alongside Derek Dunn. And we kind of just want to jump right into this conversation, but we were talking about the comment that Briere has made for years. And by the way, if you guys hear static or something, can you please let me know? Because we hear it, but we don't know if you will. But anyway, thank you. Somebody, thank you. Okay, so now it works. Okay, so the Danny Briere comment, the players dictate the rebuild. Take off of what you were talking about there.
Okay, so it's funny because now I have to catch up the audience to a conversation that we had while I legitimately thought that we were live. So I will take them on the story that we kind of went on the journey that we went on. I started with taking it from a more cynical lens, but also he has more of a point than the cynics give him credit for. And by that, I mean, when he says the players can dictate the rebuild, I do feel like there was a lot of just hand waving there and saying, I'm going to put absolute faith into the development of guys that I maybe should not have absolute faith in. And I'm just going to sit on my hands. There is an element of that. But the reason I don't hate the quote, even if you interpret it in that cynical way, is because in a large sense, he's kind of correct. With most rebuilding teams, it's not linear precisely, as in you don't go from horrific to mediocre to good. You really do just kind of go from horrific to good in the blink of an eye. Now, that blink of an eye could happen in 2 years or it could happen in 12 years, but it really there is not a escalation there. You're not stepping up staircase. You're making a Superman-esque leap a lot of times. Like the examples that we were talking about, or Colorado was kind of a disaster for many years and really wasn't even treading water. They were drowning. And then all of a sudden they throw Cale Makar into the mix and Mikko Rantanen breaks out and then they're just really, really good. Buffalo right this season is having their best season in 15 years. And nobody was expecting that because everybody was like, Buffalo is more lost than they've ever been.
It was bad for a while.
Yeah. Or Detroit, everybody was ready to hang Yzerman. And the Yzer plan is ass. And what the hell are the Red Wings doing? Then all of a sudden they're a top 10 team in the league this year? It just happened. That really does occur more often than people think. And it's probably the way the Flyers will eventually become good. Now, that's not me saying when it will happen. Could be 20 years, given the Flyers. But
it's been 20 years, dude.
When it happens, you won't predict it. It will just happen. So he's kind of right in that the players will decide when that occurs, because it will occur as a sudden flash of light. That was where we started. But where you went to is perhaps it's not a cynical, perhaps the cynics aren't totally correct here. As in, the players can dictate the course of the rebuild positively, yes, but they can also theoretically dictate the course of the rebuild negatively. They can sit there and be so ass that Danny's like, all right, you know what? No, the players have dictated that this is hopeless and y'all are going to China. That is a possible interpretation. And I brought up the point right before we went on the air. So now you are all being brought up to the present tense. Is, does this year kind of serve as a spiritual breaking point for Danny, where maybe he started with the first interpretation, but then he watched this team kind of like the rest of us have watched this team and just went, I don't know what the hell we're doing here, man. The players have dictated that major changes need to happen.
I want to say yes, but I saw somebody make a point today on X, and it's so true. Like, they didn't even try to walk Dvorak to the trade deadline. They ran to the podium and re-signed a guy who was having the best year of his career next to Travis Konecny and Trevor Zegras. Like having that kind of thinking, it's like how quickly do you change your mind? Like that's concerning.
He was
just on surface level.
He was so convinced that this team was good. And the Dvorak
That's what I
extension
mean.
was
Like how many times many times is it really you changing your mind? I feel like I feel like you're being optimistic about those comments right now. You of all people.
Honestly,
and I know people
right?
think you're the biggest pessimistic on the app. But
It's funny. I am intentionally bipolar, as in if anybody follows the tenor of my account closely, they might have picked up on this, but I have sort of two modes. I have the mode when I'm trying to make a point for people, and I'm just hammering that. And my whole point is to persuade people of a certain point. I'm trying to convince you of what is happening. And that's where a lot of my bombast comes from when I'm posting in that kind of mood. But the next day, I will be sounding analytical and calm and composed and just telling people what's happening. That is very intentional, because sometimes I'm trying to get you to believe that a certain thing is happening because I believe it. I'm not being a con man here. But other times I'm just sitting back and saying, all right, this is where we're at. And for the last 2 months, I've kind of been pounding the table a lot because I really wanted people to understand this is where we're at. Now I think everybody understands it. I don't need to pound the table and prove a point anymore. Now I can just sit back and say, this is where we're at. This is where we need to go. And I even talked about whether or not Briere might change his mind this year a little bit in a separate thread. He might, because I don't think this dates back to this year, as in his optimism. I don't think his optimism sources from this year. I think he was optimistic with 23-24. And then the goaltending collapsed, and Salty ran back that shit. He was like, nah, that ain't happening again. Ersson, he's not that bad. There's no way. And okay, we lost Carter Hart. That's a problem.
No way he's that bad.
Yeah, right. But Ivan Fedotov's got some upside. There's no way that we are going to have the worst goaltending tandem in human history. We have the worst goaltending tandem in human history. You know what? No. I refuse to believe that our goaltenders are that bad. They can't be on their own that bad. It's not possible. So it must be what we're doing defensively or what we're doing offensively. We must be putting our goalies in impossible situations. So
we knew that from Torts' defensive system, where he just wanted everyone to get in front of shots and talked a lot about how that kind of doesn't help the goalie, kind of hurts him in a way.
Yes. And so we go to Rick Tocchet, whose entire system is essentially help the goalies at all costs, sometimes even at the expense of the skaters. And what we've seen is Dan Vladar is good, and Sam Ersson, who was ass before, is ass now. And so if I'm Danny, even taking Danny's thought process, I'm looking at that going, okay, that's where we were. First of all, we don't need the training wheels for Vladar. He just turns out to be good.
Yeah,
and
really good
need
too.
Ersson at all. So what I'm saying is, let's go back to a little bit more of how we played under Tortorella. And you don't need to copy everything. You don't need to carbon copy the whole system and just bring that back. But let's open things up a little bit more. Let's take a look at a guy like Snowden, a guy like Ferschweiler, a guy like McKee, have him lead the charge, open things up this next year, and maybe we won't be good. Probably we won't be good, but we'll be a lot more of an entertaining product for our fans, and B, we will get a better sense of where all of our skaters are at. And I hate when the team goes, we need this to determine whether or not this guy is good, because the Flyers have been doing that for the last 5 years. So I really hate that I'm saying this right now. I actually am getting acid reflux from saying this. But it is this time true that the skaters are in many ways being held back and hamstrung in how they play in order to make life better for the goalies. Vladar doesn't need it. And Ersson it doesn't matter if he has it because he's still not very good.
I agree with you to a certain point because I feel like you're kind of insinuating that they're going to let go of Tocchet soon, which I just don't think is going to happen. I think objectively, I think that change should be made. Will it be made? We'll see. But if it does, I think it'll just come from Briere down to Tocchet, and you'll see Tocchet kind of fuck with his system a little more rather than them getting rid of it. Like, I objectively don't see them doing that until midway through next year if they start bad.
It is possible.
And it's not even about the money thing.
Right.
It's obviously, because Comcast has billions of dollars. I really don't give a fuck about them paying two coaches at one time. That does not concern me at all. It's like when people bring up the money with baseball. It's like I don't give a fuck about a billionaire paying money to somebody. Like, he's a billionaire.
Here's the thing.
I don't care.
This is important. Neither does Comcast. Every time Briere has asked for money, totally irrelevant to the product on the ice, they've given it to him. He has gotten an unbelievable amount of leash from Comcast. Like, he asked Comcast to take on $5 million annually of Cal Peterson's salary to be an AHL goalie, and a poor one at that. And they said, no problem. And everybody was praising Danny's creativity. That wasn't Danny's creativity. That was Comcast doing what nobody else was going to do in the league and saying, yeah, sure, you know what? We got stupid money. You think that'll help the rebuild? He'd take it. And then he did the same thing with Johansson. That wasn't Danny's creativity. That was Comcast saying, $4 million over 2 years for a dude who won't even play for us? Here you go. Like, that was just $9 million of money that provided zero value to them whatsoever, and they just gave it to Danny. And that happened over 2 years in Johansson's case and 3 years in Peterson's case. That alone, those two instances alone, is somewhere around $25 million of just play around money for Briere. And
that's not to mention the Cam Atkinson buyout, the
Tony DeAngelo buyout, the Kevin Hayes retention, the Ivan Provorov retention.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I don't think it's just all Comcast. Like, it's definitely a combination between Danny and Comcast, allowing Danny being creative and Comcast allowing him the room to be creative in that way to land those deals. But yeah, absolutely, the ability, the green light to take on that money for, like you just said, 2-3 years of asset accumulation. And now it's like, can you go use those assets? Because, like, me and you talked about on the timeline today, the thinking of Briere, and you're saying back in 2023, 2024, okay, if we can just fix the goaltending and we can just fix the defensive system, this team might actually be pretty good. If that's actually his line of thinking, why are you balking at Robert Thomas? I mean, we don't know for sure that he's balking at Robert Thomas. I'm kind of just talking out of my ass there, but Quinn Hughes, like, I understand you don't want to get rid of Michkov or Martone. I understand. I really wouldn't want to either, but for Quinn Hughes, I would probably think about it. But it's like, go out and grab these guys then. If that's actually your thinking, if you're thinking you're a Rick Tocchet away, a goaltending and good defensive system away, why not go out there and maybe overspend for a 26-year-old 1C who you could put next to Martone or Michkov?
Honestly, this is my criticism of Danny, which is he will have this vision, but then he will hedge too quickly. As in, like, I believe these things, and I will take certain precautions, I will take certain measures to enact my vision, but I won't go all the way. Because if I go all the way, that's scary. That's too much risk.
It's confusing. Like, it really is confusing to follow. Like, if you're chronically online like we are, and you follow this team every day too much, it's confusing. What they're doing is very confusing. It really is.
And this is why Danny, frankly, needs more criticism than he gets. People are a little too hesitant in many ways to put this off on Comcast and act like Comcast is imposing their will here. And I understand why people get to that. And it's a pretty simple reason why. They're like, well, it's all these GMs who have been asked. So it can't just be the GMs all being individually asked. There has to be a connecting factor here. There is a connecting factor here. It's that Comcast knows they want the value of the Flyers to go up, but has no idea how to make that happen because they're not hockey people. They have surrounded themselves with hockey people, that being the alumni, basically, the senior executives. And the senior executives all have certain predilections, and those predilections inform the selection of every single general manager. So you're going to get whoever those guys like, and it's not a shock to me that a lot of times the guys those people like aren't very good at their jobs. And, maybe Briere has a come to Jesus moment and he becomes good at his job. But right now, I'm not especially inclined to believe that he's particularly good at his job, because at the end of the day, what a GM does is they inform the ownership on how to best make their hockey team a better and more profitable product over time. That is the entire job of a general manager, is to manage the day-to-day operations of the asset in question. And what has Briere done to that end? He's made it worse in most ways. He's made it worse as in he's pretty much continued the Chuck Fletcher operations, which was degrading over time. Chuck Fletcher was making it worse. And then Briere came in and said, what if we just do all that, but put the word rebuild on it?
I was just going to say, was it you who said on the timeline that the only reason why he used that word was because Chuck just refused to use it?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And everybody was excoriating Fletcher for not using it. I guarantee Danny was sitting back like,
I was one of them, dude. Chuck,
why don't you just lie?
I think a lot of the conversation, or a lot of what's happening right now with the Flyers and Danny, have not all people, but some people talking about Chuck and maybe, he wasn't that bad. No, that era sucked. Chuck Fletcher couldn't trade JVR when JVR had a little bit of value.
He
was one of the worst eras of Flyers hockey that I've been through. Seriously, was a dark time. Now that doesn't mean that this is amazing or Briere is amazing. I judge things objectively, and right now I'm not very impressed about what's going on. But
here's how I delineate between, I think, what people are trying to get at and what people are actually saying. What people are actually saying, which I think is incorrect, is that Chuck Fletcher was maybe not as bad as we thought. No, Chuck Fletcher was every bit as bad of a general manager as we all thought.
No, he sucked.
However, mostly through circumstances beyond his control. The situation that he left Briere with was not particularly uncomfortable.
No, Briere walked into a pretty good situation.
Yeah.
Multiple draft picks. Michkov. I mean, I know he wasn't drafting Michkov, but
only one sort of anchor contract, and it only became an anchor contract after Briere was hired, which is the Couturier deal. Almost every team has at least one anchor contract at some time, so that's not a huge deal. And then he essentially left Briere Michkov because he left Briere the Michkov pick. They were as bad as they were when Fletcher was ousted, and Briere kept Brent Flair, who had Michkov at second on the board when the Flyers were picking seventh and Michkov was available. So in many ways, Michkov was one of the things that Briere inherited. He also inherited Gauthier. And then after that is when his tenure starts to take off. So I think his situation was actually fairly okay. And I don't really think he's made that situation better. Maybe he hasn't made it overly worse. I don't think he's done a whole lot of damage to it, but I don't think he's made it better either.
I would agree with that. I would say it's probably on the same level on the same playing field. We have better players on the team. You could point to the Zegers trade, but like you said, I don't think the Zegers trade was some insanely creative trade that he made, but I'm not going to put him down for it. It was a solid trade to try to infuse this team with some kind of high-end skill other than Michkov.
It was definitely the highlight of his tenure.
But even the prospect pool, other than Martone, it's just not a lot of guys. You got Zavarian. I don't know if I'm butchering his name, but I'm excited about him. But you would think with the draft picks that they had and the cap space that they would have a little bit better of a pool. I'm not saying it's bad, but
I don't think they navigated the first round outside of picks they essentially tanked for particularly well.
Well, picks that essentially landed in their lap, right? Like
Yeah.
you got Michkov, who was right there. You have Martone, who was second and third on some boards a month before the draft started. The picks where it wasn't the most obvious thing in the world, they're question marks. Like no matter how you feel about Luchenko or no matter how you feel about Nesbitt, they are question marks. And it's like I see people come at you personally on the timeline, and it's like, well, how the fuck do you know that Nesbitt isn't going to be good? He's 18 years old and a junior. Who the fuck are you to say that he isn't going to be an NHL player? And it's like, yeah, I mean, you have a point. There are cases where prospects just come out of thin air, but it's an outlier. The fact that yeah.
Why are we banking on an outlier with 12th overall picks in both instances?
There's nothing wrong with looking at a prospect and being like, I don't see how this translates to the NHL. He's not dominating juniors on a top line. Isn't he on a really good team, Jack?
Yeah. Jack, well, maybe not a really good team. I think they're a little more middle of the pack this year, but frankly, a big reason why they're middle of the pack this year is because they downgraded at 1C from Ilya Protas to Jack Nesbitt. Like a lot of the reason that they're not as good is because of Jack Nesbitt. So
I'm also thinking of Luchenko's team, who he just got traded to.
And Luchenko got to a better team, and frankly, that went, I don't want to say south, but I think the idea that Luchenko would both maintain the primacy and the centrality of what he had with Guelph, and by that I mean when he was with Guelph, he was the guy. He was getting a puck whenever he wanted, and he was trusted to do whatever the hell he wanted with it. And he got actually more production out of that than he's getting with Brampton, where he has, or is it Brantford? With the Bulldogs.
Brantford, you got it. Yeah,
okay, Brantford. With the Bulldogs, he's getting less of that. He's in a smaller role because of those teammates, and it's not made him particularly more efficient as far as production goes. Like, we would think intuitively, better teammates equals more points. It's a little more complicated than that, honestly, because like the sweet idea, the kind of heavenly zone, the ideal scenario is when you're the best player on the team and all of your other surrounding players are almost as good as you. And that way you get all the centrality, all the will to do whatever you want, but also all the support around you to make things as easily as possible. You have to be really, really good to be that level of player in that situation. And Luchenko isn't that level of player even at the juniors. So it does make you wonder, is he a guy that you're going to want to put with a Michkov or a Martone or even a Konecny? Or maybe he is just the guy that you're going to throw down on the bottom six.
He has, right now I'm looking at his junior stats. He had 17 and 11. He had 2 goals, 15 assists, 17 points, and 11 games with the Storm. And they got traded to the Bulldogs. And he has 13 points in 14 games with them, 3 goals, 10 assists. I don't know how many of those assists are primary or secondary. I'd have to go and research that.
And I'm not going to take those numbers super literally and be like he's actually worse in Brantford, but what it does is it kind of precludes the possibility that everybody was kind of hanging their hat on, which is that Luchenko with better teammates will evolve into a better offensive player. That turns out not to be the case.
Well, I'll still die on the hill that he should have been here all year.
I do wonder if his development looks significantly different if they just stuck to their guns and kept him up here when he was 18.
Are you telling me he wouldn't be good in this target system?
He'd probably be our best
box
center
plus
right
one system. That's what I'm saying. He's got the speed. He's got soft skill. He's already pretty good defensively, and he has the athleticism to be able to play a box 1+ system that Tocchet wants you to play. Like I was watching Zegras last night. Was it last night? Yeah. Wow. My days are getting mixed up. He looked lost defensively in the trying to defend, below the goal line, he looked lost a couple of times, especially in the slot, letting the guy, his man wide open. There have been a couple of times over the last few weeks that the centers on this team have just completely lost their man in the D zone. I think you talked about it a little bit on the
usually
on the
Michkov gets
timeline.
blamed for it.
Usually, yeah, if he's in the vicinity, he's going to get blamed.
Sometimes even if he's not, Hartnell will think Andre was Michkov.
Yeah, I was waiting for him or JJ to turn around and be like, yeah, that wasn't Michkov, but it never came. I don't even think we went over any of their numbers yet. Because I remember I went on Twitter and it was right before January started, and I threw up the schedule. I was like, hey, what are they going to go? And there was one guy who is a Flyers W away tomorrow from being right on the money. They are 4-8-2 in January. He said 5-8-2. Will they win tomorrow? Who fucking knows? Who knows what team will show up? Because sometimes they look like a fucking top 15 team, and then they'll come out the next period and look like they do not know how to play hockey. But Konecny in the last 13 games has 14 points, and we know that he's not 100%. So I tip my cap to Konecny. He's been fucking fantastic. He's been the one guy, especially last night, who showed up willing to play and wanting to make a fucking difference. And his comments this morning, which I will play, I want to talk about that a little bit, were pretty interesting. But I thought Justin made a pretty interesting tweet. He tweeted out, Christmas time, they were the 6th best team in the NHL with 45 points. Now they are a 9th worst team in the NHL points-wise. So from Christmas to now, in 17 games played, they have 12 points. They are 5-10-2 since Christmas. And I won't even give you the fucking power play numbers because they're probably disgusting. I could probably bring them up right here. Oh my God, I don't even want to look at this. This is a little bit different number. This is January 2nd to now. Second worst with a 14.6%. I'll do Christmas and see what Christmas is. The worst, they are the worst, number one worst power play with a 13% clip. That's fucking insane, dude. I feel we get on this podcast every week and we talk about how bad they are on the power play. And you still will not see Michkov and Zegras out there together, or Barkey. Even though like Barkey and Michkov together on the power play is pretty fun to watch.
Honestly, at this point, the obvious solution is to get Zegras on that unit, and that unit is not only the first unit, but frankly, the only unit that touches the ice. Like, you roll your lines at 5-on-5 so much that how is Michkov going to play any more than, say, 18 minutes, even if you do put him out there for every single power play, every single second, Ovechkin or Kucherov style? You're not going to overload him either way. You roll the hell out of your 5v5 lines. Why are we acting like we have 10 power play players? We don't. We might not even have 5.
We don't.
Like, that's the biggest problem right now. It's not necessarily the lack of high-end talent, because there are teams who have way less high-end talent than we do. Well, not way less, but distinctly less high-end talent than we do, who are way better than us on a power play.
Justin, they are the worst power play since Forrester went down, dipped 3 percentage points, but I think that has to do with PDO regrets just as much as it does Tyson.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, look, Tyson's their best trigger man by
easily,
significant margin. And so some of that's definitely just losing a shot like his. Other parts of that is just like, even Tyson Forrester is not going to shoot 25%.
I was just going to bring that up. Like, how much was his shooting percentage at the time, which was at 24-25, factor into that as well? He definitely would have regressed a little bit. Like, maybe he would have shot high, don't get me wrong, but not 24-25%.
Look, he can hold 15%,
miss him
for sure.
Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say they don't miss him. Like, he was a huge part of the success during the start, and he's a really solid defensive player. And like Derek just said, he has the best shot on the team. It might not be as hard as tip hits, but it hits the net.
Actually, I think it's harder. I think by NHL Edge, it is technically
really
harder, and it also is more accurate. So,
you know that.
Yeah, Yes, for sure. I was actually looking at this, and this is one thing that was going positively with Tyson's development. I was talking about this with the Torter. They were trying to get Tyson in front of the net too hard. Like, oh, get to the slot, get to the lower slot, get to the front of the net. Look, 99% of players, that's what you want to do. But sometimes there are dudes with such insane shooting ability, particularly from range, that you actually don't want to make them worse at scoring by putting them in those theoretically more dangerous areas. Like, don't have line A at the front of the net. Put them at the circle.
Yeah.
And Tyson, by the numbers, was one of those guys. He wasn't a guy that was getting he wasn't very efficient at the net front. He wasn't very efficient in the lower slot. He just doesn't have a quick enough release for all that. And he's also not that great at tipping pucks. But when you give him just a half second to get his shot off, which teams have to do when he's further out, they can't defend 20 feet out and not give up something else. So they're going to give Tyson that shot, and he's going to make it at a 15% clip, which is better than most people in front of the net.
Oh, yeah. I can't help but think about Porter Martone the entire time you talk about that. I don't know why, because he's kind of like the complete opposite. Like, kind of the same build in a way, but you kind of want to do the opposite with him in terms of throwing him in front of the net and letting him use his quick release and his soft hands around the net because he thrives there. So it's kind of funny how, because like if you put them side by side, like even like the skating stride, which I mean Porter's skating stride is better, but not by much. And like the build, they're both lanky kids with great shots, right hands. It's kind of funny. They play kind of the same, but Porter's a little bit more assertive in front of the net. Like you said, Tyson playing out front. I mean, we've seen him how many times score from range, using a defender as a screen and shooting a puck between sticks and legs and getting a top left cheese goal.
Yeah, I mean, he is one of the sexiest goal scorers in the NHL, really. He scores the kind of goals that are highlight reel worthy, and he can give you 35 of those pretty easily. So the Flyers power play actually has a lot of interesting pieces here. I think the only intrigue left is how you maximize both Zegras and Michkov on the same unit when Michkov and Zegras have a lot of similarities in how they play and how they need to play to be the most successful. And I do think you have to find a way, and I kind of think I know the way. But
he knows the way. What's the way, Derek?
Well, the way
is talking, please.
Yeah, right. But the way is you're going to have to emulate Edmonton, and Edmonton.
Oh, yeah.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
I'm getting into the specifics, but
sure. No, go ahead.
What Edmonton's so good at, it really is. It really does sound hilarious. Somebody should clip that. Yeah, they just got to emulate Edmonton.
What Edmonton's really good at, they have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
And how do they both? Well, here's the thing. That's the same redundancy. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl should have the same problem, as in like, we want to be at the same spot doing more or less the same things. Yeah. And yet what they have a sort of catalog of moves of like, instead of me doing this, I will do a whole other thing. Like McDavid, rather than sitting at his one-timer wall like Kucherov would, he'll let Draisaitl do that and then float up to the top of the zone, get a pass from Bouchard, not even a hard pass, not even a difficult pass, but just a little pass to get him going downhill and create a small area 2-on-1 between one penalty killer himself and Leon Draisaitl. And all of a sudden, it's an impossible predicament. Do you let McDavid skate right by you? Probably not. Oh, okay, so you're going to cover McDavid? Well, now Leon Draisaitl's shooting from his office. You're kind of going to have to emulate the same thing. You're going to have to get, I would say Zegras would be a little bit better at this part. Zegras going downhill, a little bit McDavid style, and making that one defender make a decision between helping off of Michkov and giving Michkov the Draisaitl spot where he's very good, or giving Zegras a free walk-in shot to the slot. You're going to have to give both Zegras and Michkov, but especially Zegras, just absolute free reign to do whatever the hell they want. And I think there you can kind of maximize both of their skill sets while adding Tyson Forrester off on the flank being the sort of like just repository of slap shot ridiculousness. Tyson Forrester is going to touch the puck in two cases. One, he has to retrieve the puck. Two, he has to one-time the puck. Those are the only two times Tyson Forrester is going to touch the puck.
Two times you need him touching the puck, to be honest with you.
And then somehow you even got your Zach Hyman, except maybe with even more finesse, in Porter Martone, because he's going to be there to clean up all the garbage created by Zegras and Michkov putting defenders in a blender.
Well, it's funny that you said the whole do whatever they want thing, because I think Justin tweeted this out yesterday. There was a play during that Boston game where Zegras kind of went freestyle, right up the ice, deked out two guys. I think he almost scored. And it's like, I wish that this offensive scheme would give these guys a little bit more reign to do that, because that is the environment that I want them to be in. That is an environment that a rebuilding team should be in. You shouldn't be trying to squeeze out wins the way they have. And like, that sounds so bad. Like, stop winning. You know what I mean? Like, that's not where it's coming from, though. It's like, stop winning in like a fake way. And that's what I feel like we've been talking about on this podcast for the last 2 months. It's just like, that's not sustainable. But what I do think is sustainable is letting these guys go and be a little bit more free. Like, the whole dump and chase thing, I think I'm going to actually start counting it. I'm going to start tracking how many times they dump a puck in when they could carry it in and try to make a play. I'm going to start doing it because I feel like last game, there's so many opportunities to make a play. And instead of doing it, these guys just dump it in. And you see guys like Michkov do it. Like Barkey was starting to do it. It's like you didn't see that when he first came up, but you start to see it now because he's being ingrained into the system more and more. The first call-up, first 2-3 games, he's not really – I mean, I know they play semi-familiar systems, but it's a little bit different up down there with Snowden than it is with Tocchet. But I do wish they would just give a little bit more freedom, because you see spurts of it. Like you said on the podcast last 2 weeks ago, you see spurts of it where Michkov, Konecny, and Zegras are like, you know what? Fuck this. Like, let's do our own thing. Let me try to create something here. And that's what Zegras did a couple times last game. So I hope at some point they do get a little bit more freedom. And if they continue to start losing, that's where what I just said about Briere and then the whole maybe saying something to talk about, hey, maybe start changing some things up, maybe try to make that winger fly out the zone a little bit quicker, try to get a transition game going, something, but we'll see. But I mean, that's my complaint right now. It's just you see those flashes with Zegras, and it's so fucking annoying because you've seen his play kind of die the last 2-3 weeks, but you know it's in there. But he's just playing to the system.
Exactly. And everybody kind of is. And it all starts with, like, you know, if you want more controlled entries, look at how you behave in the defensive zone. Look at how your rushes are starting. Our breakouts are so slow.
Dude,
my God.
They're not even slow. I saw this I think it was against Boston or Columbus. Michkov is just standing there at the fucking blue line. I mean, at the red line. He is motionless, sitting there waiting for that pass. What the fuck is that going to do to you in the neutral zone? You're going to get pickpocketed, and the play is going to go the other way. There is nothing good that's going to come from a guy. And this isn't picking on Michkov. It could be anybody. It's funny because, like, it could be anybody, but it's so funny. I say Michkov because he's apparently playing left wing, so his transition game is better, so he can corral the puck better. He was standing there motionless. What transition game do you think is going to have? It's so asinine. It was just like, that's not how he wants to play. I know for a fucking fact that is not what Michkov wants to do. Michkov does not want to sit at a red line with his ass against the boards, waiting for a fucking pass from Noah Juulsen. I promise you, that's not. It's so frustrating, man. It really is.
Even better, this was even worse. This actually led to multiple chances against, but it was like, and it's going to be Michkov again. I literally knew what was going to happen before it happened. Nick Seeler is coming out behind the net, and Michkov, as everybody in the system does, is just sitting there with his stick against the boards and his ass out like, I think I'm ready for the pass, but I'd rather you not pass it. And then Sealer's like, yeah, I think I'll pass it. And then Michkov gets the puck. No speed whatsoever, no ability to make a move, no nothing. The most obviously telegraphed pass of all time, and the defenseman just comes flying in. It's a turnover because how the hell wouldn't it be? And all of a sudden they're stuck in their zone. This happens all the time. Like, the only option as a winger is like receive the puck and then quickly panic and dump it the fuck out before you die.
Pretty much. Real quick, I want to throw this Jordan Hull stat at you. I know it has nothing to do with what you just said, but I want to get it out. Flyers have lost 10 of their last 12 games, 2-8-2. They have allowed 4.58 goals per game over that stretch.
Oh my God.
And to go by, like, if you were to sit here and tell me you can't look at your computer screen, what do you think Vladar's numbers are at? From, let me see, what do I have? Goalies from like December 1st to now. What would you think? Because I looked this up right before the podcast started, and he's at an 8.95 save percentage. But if you were to ask me before I looked it up, I don't think the regression that we've seen is on him.
No. At this point, the defensive system is so bad that I don't expect any goaltender to actually thrive in this environment consistently. And it's funny because I actually talked about this when I talked about the Flyers' impending collapse. As much credit as I was going to give and did give their defensive system at the time, I said, because of how much they are sacrificing to play the defense they're playing, eventually players are going to stop following the script because they're going to say, wait a minute, this isn't leading to goals. This isn't leading to wins. And then the snowball is going to build. And all of a sudden, everybody's going to be playing like chickens with their head cut off. And you're going to have calamity, even defensively. This is exactly where we've ended up.
I think you said something along the lines of you even see players like Cates starting to play back into the Tortorella system where they're trying to jump lanes instead of kind of man-to-man.
Like Cates is playing, a lot of times he's just kind of thinking zone where, okay, I'm guarding the middle of the ice, picking the passing lanes that might be relevant, and he's playing good defense in a wrong system. Because a lot of times what's happening is he's sitting there like choosing good passing lanes and then getting beaten anyway because his center is off at the back post and getting a goal, and then everybody's blaming Michkov.
Well, let me ask you this. What do you think the regression of the defense comes from? Like, what do you think has happened that it's gone from talking about Jamie Drysdale being one of the best puck-moving defensemen in the NHL to being like, hey, I don't think he's been as good over the last month-ish as he's been. Like, I still think he's a positive this season. I still think he's been pretty good, but not as impressive as I think he was the first 2 months of the season.
I think it's just a simple matter of you can only keep up what Drysdale was keeping up in the defensive and neutral zones if you are a Norris caliber defenseman. I think what Drysdale was doing for 2 months, the bar of difficulty was so high that he was playing at not just a great level, but a transcendent level. And he was playing over his head. He couldn't possibly do that for an entire season, especially at this point in this development. And here we are.
And like, I think you said it. It's hard to judge these defensemen in this system because honestly, it's not actually who they can be, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think Andrea has been good at all, but I don't really think you can point to a defenseman who's been really, really, really good. Like, see, even Sanheim's dropped off from his Olympic play, if you will.
I mean, Emil Andre's best quality is his passing. Who the hell does he have to pass to out of the zone? Where are the passing options?
A standing Michkov at the fucking red line. That's who he can pass to.
And it's like, Tocchet's sitting there like, I like my defenseman to wheel. I like my defenseman to carry the puck. Bro, they're not all Quinn Hughes. You know when it's easier to carry the puck? And I know, it's crazy. When you have open options to pass it to and you can make defenses pick their poison. Like, that matters more in most situations, unless you're Quinn Hughes. They're going 24 miles an hour with the hands of McDavid. Those are your two options, okay? You can be Connor McDavid or Quinn Hughes or Cale Makar. And don't get me wrong, I would certainly love if we could somehow get one of those guys, but that ain't happening. So we're going to have to look at option 2, which is good puck support, constantly having options, because what high-end players can do, great players, let's use Nikita Kucherov, who is the best in the world at this, identifying his options and then making a defense choose between covering him or covering his next available option. They never make the right choice because Kucherov is that good at the chess game. However, if you take all the pieces off the board, Kucherov can't play chess anymore. Now, can he?
Nope.
And that's kind of what we've done to Michkov, frankly, is it's like, well, did Michkov regress because he got fat? And his top speed is now within 0.7 miles per hour of where it was last year. Barely a blip. And yet, obviously, he's not doing anything in transition. And I'll tell you why he isn't doing anything. Because he gets the puck with no options, no speed, no ability to make a move, no anything, no favorable conditions whatsoever. And then it's like, well, what do I do now? I'll tell you what you do now. You turn the puck over because you're a human being. The only person who can do anything is Owen Tippett, where it's like, well, what if I just skate past everybody? It's like, yeah, okay, that can work sometimes.
I'm able to do this. He's been really good, man.
Do that. Like, yeah, that is partially why Owen Tippett looks so much better this year, is because, like, he's the only dude who has the physical ability to do what he can do. Like, Trevor Zegras isn't going to be able to go, what if I just skate by everybody?
Wait, I can do this? Let me just do this. Well, like, also Konecny last couple of weeks is
honestly
kind of
Konecny is, it's like he's found his ways, and I'm not trying to take anything from him, but
he's been really good, man.
The Columbus game, he was good that whole game. Not one of those goals should have scored. Not one of those goals. Elvis Merzlikins was asleep at the wheel that whole game. And frankly, the fact that only Konecny exploited it should be maddening to everybody on the Flyers, because it's like, what was that guy doing?
Merzlikin was leaking.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
And I'm not even trying to be like, oh,
so well, bad.
Travis Konecny's hat trick doesn't count. No, I just mean, like, even Travis.
You would say that. You would say that about Konecny, you fucking negative piece. No, I'm just kidding.
Like, even Travis Konecny, while he's scoring a hat trick, is not transcending above the system, because it's like, who can? Connor McDavid, if you found a way to get him in here, would find a way to transcend the system. And
it's actually funny you say that.
Is basically,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just finish up. Tocchet is basically begging for all of his players to be like, well, guys, why aren't you Connor McDavid? Because they're not.
It's funny that you said that, because I think that Konecny, the last 2-3 games, especially yesterday, it's like, how many on-man rushes has he been on in the last 2-3 games? Kind of seems like he's back to the Tortorella system, where he's just like, you know what, fuck Tocchet's system. I'm taking chances at the first bobbling of a puck that I see, because I see a bobble puck and Konecny's going.
Yeah. And honestly,
especially last night.
Like, Konecny's good at reading those situations. Yeah, it goes wrong sometimes, but like, he's legitimately good at sensing when that advantage is about to occur. And I will gladly take the nonsense with all of the good moments. Because, like, what was happening before with Travis Konecny trying to play the Tocchet system, frankly, was just like none of the good stuff, but all the same bad stuff. And now the Konechny's doing his free agent thing again and just doing whatever the hell he wants and just freestyling out there. Actually, he's pretty good at freestyling. And
yeah, that's what makes him good.
Michkov, please just look at Travis Konecny. Look at Travis Konecny saying, fuck the coach, fuck the system, fuck all this, and just doing whatever the hell he wants. Look at that and emulate it. I don't even care if he takes your ice time anymore. He's taking your ice time as is, okay? So just freestyle it out there. Because
absolutely,
you're good at that too. Michkov might be naturally even more gifted at freestyling than Konecny is. There's usually already even less of a downside to it. Now, he doesn't have the same speed that Konecny has right at this point, but as far as reading plays, he might be even better.
Unfortunately, get used to it. Tocchet isn't going anywhere for minimum 3 years. Shocked Michkov didn't get benched for getting that breakaway against Columbus. That's also my take, because like I listen to Derek in the group chats and they talk about firing Tocchet, and it's like, do I think they're not going to do it because of the money? No, I don't think the money matters. I said that in the beginning of the podcast. I just don't see them. Like, I think their egos are too big. To put it, to be blunt about it, I think their egos are too big. I think they will not admit that they were wrong that quick.
I don't think if they do fire Tocchet, I don't think they'll admit they were wrong at all. They will just, I will tell you, I could turn this around in 5 minutes. Like, I did that as a little exercise on Twitter. Like, when you fire Tocchet, just say all this bullshit. And at no point did I recommend them to say they were wrong. In fact, I was like, no, we needed this. We needed this year of Rick Tocchet to really get everybody going, to get everybody into shape.
Shocked Michkov didn't get benched for that. That breakaway tech was ass. I'm just going to say that real quick.
It was bad.
It was ass.
It was bad. Well, actually, funnily enough, that might be better than what he was doing before on breakaway attempts. But that's not saying that was good, though. That's saying Michkov on breakaways specifically this year has been ass. I don't know if he's just so surprised he gets them, but he's like, wait, what?
I think his confidence is hurt.
Yeah, it's probably that.
I don't know. He's not confident. He's not confident, Michkov, right now. He looks good. Like, I don't think he looks amazing. He looks
like, honestly, I didn't even think you could do that. Like, I don't know, man. Rick Tocchet is simultaneously the dumbest and yet the most competent man on the face of the earth.
Real quick, because we're talking about Konecny, and I remember I was talking in a thread about Konecny getting traded. Maybe I could find it. It's from Ton Tortorella on Twitter. I think you've probably interacted with him before. I think you were talking to him about it. Didn't want Tocchet at all. That said, at what point do players like Couturier, Sanheim, Konecny, even I don't know why he threw Konecny in there, get faulted? Constant coaching turnover, and also the roster isn't willing to adjust. I think that's a pretty good point. But also it goes back to the fact that like maybe it's time for Briere to switch some things up, like I said they did with Frost and Farabee. I can't find this, but
well, it's like I said. I mean,
this guy talks a lot.
It's a good point. I'm in favor of that, and you do have. It's not like you just fire Rick Tocchet and all of a sudden all of your problems are solved and they turn to pixie dust and float away. No, that's not going to happen. But a necessary starting point here and a very easy place to start is firing a head coach, and he's more than deserved it. And people act like it's a bad thing, like, oh my God, we fire so many coaches. Everybody fires so many coaches, man. This is the NHL. The average coaching tenure is 2 years. That's an actual stat. I think it's approaching less than 2 years. Like, the coaching turnover in the NHL is legendary. If you aren't John Cooper, if you aren't Jared Bednar, you are working year by year. And yeah. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think one of the worst teams in the league should be sitting here saying, well, you know what? We're going to stick to this head coach. Why? What's happening that makes you say, yeah, you know what? We got to stick with this head coach. We got to blame everybody else but him.
Let's ask us this question.
Say that. Now, what you can say is, I'm all for it. We can get rid of Tocchet. We can find somebody better. But it can't just be Tocchet. It can't just be Tocchet and then run everything back and hope we're going to contend. To that point, I totally agree.
Derek, I think you just got to face the music that Tocchet's not going anywhere, bro.
I do think you're probably right that Danny will do some retarded stuff and be like, oh, but he can fix his systems, and we'll have to go through another half year of that. I do think people are being a little bit hyperbolic with like, he won't go anywhere for a minimum of 3 years. I really doubt he makes it through the second year. But
yeah, I mean, that's what I said.
Yeah,
midway through the
think
second
you're
year is the
probably
earliest.
correct. Is it's like I think the range. Honestly, it would be very easy from a business sense to scapegoat him this year, just because you have to sell season tickets.
And you know the thing is, I don't think enough people give a fuck about the Flyers to where it would actually matter. Like, they're not the Eagles where like the casual person is extremely into them. Like, if they fired the coach that they just signed, obviously we'd have an opinion about it, and some section would be of Flyers Twitter would be mad. But like the casual Philadelphian would be like, okay.
Yeah, like that's kind of the thing is it's like they'd have to admit that they were wrong. No, they wouldn't, because most people would be like, who was Rick talking? And then even the people who would really want to hold their feet to the fire and be like, but you said, those people would all be like, fuck yes, we fired Rick Tocchet, get his ass out of here. So who's going to hold their feet to the fire?
How many people do you think that John Tortorella's still the fucking coach?
Probably
a handful. Yeah. Probably more than we would like to admit. Can't wait for the next Kurz article about Michkov's penalty minutes when half of them are him taking the too many men penalties for breakaways. Yeah, we have had a lot of fucking.
Dude, it's funny because you can't convince me
too many men
that Tocchet was going on about, oh, I'm going to hold people accountable for these penalties. You know, he was subtweeting Michkov. You know, he was like, I am waiting for Michkov to give me a reason to scratch him over the penalties. And then what happened is everybody except Michkov started taking penalties. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, well, this is okay.
Randomly got benched. Speaking of Gurbankin, he had a fucking fantastic game last night. Got rewarded. Scored a goal, his fourth of the year. He was awesome. And look what happens when you give a younger prospect 2 solid line mates. He was really fucking good last night. It was nice seeing him. Who was he with again? He was with
Dvorak and
Konecny. Yeah. So it was nice seeing that from Gurbankin. Casual Philadelphia are gonna go to the game starting Eagles chance when they're down 4-1 at the end of the game. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not saying that they're gonna fire Torts. Wow. I'm not gonna say they're gonna fire Tocchet. I think if it does happen, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, it'll be midway through next year. But
honestly, I think people very much underestimate the idea of social capital. And by that, I'm going to bring up the evil gritty, now medieval gritty approval rating polls. I think those matter more than people would imagine.
How many people voted on that?
Over 1,200 last I checked. Man. So this is a good sample size. Rick Tocchet has reached Chuck Fletcher levels of popularity. Nobody's going to be defending Tocchet if you fire him. And
what's he at?
He's at something like 4 or 5%.
Jeez.
And Chuck Fletcher was at 4% when he got canned. So if you're the organization, you would actually be spending more energy defending Rick Tocchet than simply giving people what they want and sending him to Siberia. Like, it would actually be easier for you to send him to Siberia. That's how unpopular he's become. He's become so unpopular that if Danny keeps him around too long, it's going to be a drag on Danny's popularity. And it already is. Danny, I believe, is looking worse in this latest poll, even though he's still looking okay. I think he had like 34% approve and 30-some% neutral. So there's only a third of the fan base that voted there that are outright disapproving of Danny. However, a good solid 95% of the fan base is actively neutral on Tocchet, or actively disapproving of Tocchet. And if Danny keeps tying his wagon to that guy, eventually it's going to be like coattails in the wrong direction, and his approvals are going to go in the toilet. And that will eventually create a Chuck Fletcher environment where ownership has to change direction simply because otherwise fans are going to start egging people's houses.
And it won't be Derek. Derek would never do something like that.
Well, now apparently I just throw Molotov cocktails from my gaming chair. I don't even have to.
Yeah.
So,
what a weird fucking tweet that was.
I mean, first of all,
just,
thank you
for
saying my posts are so incendiary, so powerful.
Yeah, instead of like actually coming back at you with any kind of content and any kind of anything, it's just like come take my chair and do my like it's such a bad argument. It's just in bad taste. That was so stupid, so childish in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not even going to get into it. That was just funny. The joke was there, and I had to take it. It was a layup.
What's it taking to get Thomas done? A lot of people are saying Tyson plus Jet. Hard to see that deal even done. Peace.
Yeah, look.
Peace.
Any reasonable price.
We have 18 wingers, dude. How many fucking wingers do we need?
I don't think Robert Thomas is actually available for anybody whose name isn't Michkov from Martin.
Yeah,
That's the sense I'm getting. And at this point, do I think they're totally... I do think if you are actually married to Rick Tocchet for whatever reason, and I don't think they are, but I'm just saying if they were for some god-awful reason, I would trade one of those guys for Robert Thomas. Like, what version of Michkov are you hoping to get in a Rick Tocchet system? Is he going to become Pavel Bure? Is he going to become Connor McDavid speed? Like, what's going to happen?
Dump and chase demon.
Yeah, he's going to become Val Nichushkin and go grow 6 inches.
Tony taking a slingshot with him to tomorrow's game, going to hit Tocchet square net with a marble. Just Jesus Christ. Where's my cannoli, bro? I'm waiting for my cannoli. How was that, by the way? How was the cannoli?
Good stuff. Good stuff. He got it from a place that's right by my house. So I actually hadn't tried them before that, but their cannolis are good.
So funny. I think he sent one to Russ, too.
Dude, he defined my address, actually. I'm pretty impressed. He had his ways. Because I was legit like, wait, did I actually tell you my address? And it's like, nah, I took a shot.
Wait, what?
It was correct. He actually divined my address.
That's kind of scary, I'm not going to lie.
I'm impressed.
I figured he DM'd you.
No, he had asked me for my address before about one of the shirts he has going, which are hilarious, but I did decline because I wasn't going to wear those in public.
Why not?
Despite them being hilarious, I was not going to wear those in public.
I don't even know what they were.
Oh, they were some crazy shit.
Were they? Only positive that's going to come with talk. Michkov's next deal is going to be cheap, and no one else is going to want him.
Yeah,
you're talking about his...
Yeah, the first
ELC.
deal coming off his ELC thing is a bridge.
Nah. 7 years.
Now that would be ideal.
Wait, yeah, Derek. Oh, no. Oh, no. Justin had a serious question, though. And this was on X, actually. Have you considered watching Spitting Chicklets tape to maximize your podcasting potential? Serious one. With seemingly rising dissatisfaction among fans, it wouldn't be surprising if Tocchet tenure is short-lived. Would you prefer Snowden or someone external, McKee?
Wow, that was great timing because that was exactly what I was talking about. But would I prefer Snowden or McKee? So I know a little bit more about Snowden's systems than I do about McKee's. And I think Snowden is... Honestly, it's a very smooth change. I think it's the one they'll ultimately go with because it's like he does kind of play a very similar way to Rick Tocchet hockey, but the philosophy is different. A lot of times, it doesn't matter so much what system you're going for, so much as the philosophy undergirding the system. As in, you can run a 2-1-2, but what are you telling people to do in that 2-1-2?
Yep.
I think
How
Snowden...
aggressive is it?
Yes. I think what Snowden does, and it's pretty enticing actually, is he takes a lot of the Rick Tocchet base and just changes the philosophy behind it in a way that makes his teams a lot more dangerous. And I assume that the Flyers will opt for that approach, even over McKee. However, I don't want to speak too much on McKee because I actually haven't watched a lot of the Bulldogs this year. But just from the little bit that I have watched, what it really has impressed me is it's the opposite of Rick Tocchet syndrome, where it's like the puck support is fantastic. Everybody has like 3 options to pass to at any given time, and everybody is making these ridiculously intricate plays through the neutral zone. And it's like, yeah, at NHL speed, those are harder to make, no question. But the reason they're making all those plays and everybody's making all those plays is because there's always an option. Like Jet Luchenko is going to catch a puck at the red line, and he's going to catch a puck at the red line with his feet facing out, ready to gain some speed and 2 people to pass to, and that's everybody. I would very much enjoy an environment where Michkov, every time he touches the puck, he has options, because that's his superpower, is leveraging options. That's what he does. So if McKee can bring that to the NHL, I would prefer that over Snowden. But what I will say is I do expect they would go with somebody like Snowden, and I won't fault them for it. I think he'll be more than serviceable. I think he'll be very good, actually. As in, Justin himself has put out Snowden's resume, and it's like a meteoric rise through the ranks of hockey. Like, dude was dominating the ECHL like his teams were Lakers Shaq, and then dominating every level, even the AHL, where it's like, it looks like this year, it's not, he's doing okay. No, he's doing a lot better than okay, because he is keeping the Phantoms their head above water while we are taking their whole team, and injuries are taking the rest of their team.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, Alex Bump has been injured almost all year.
Yeah, Alex Bump has been injured for a while. We just took Barkey for some time. Kairu's been in and out and wasn't even acquired at the start of the season. Peterson and even Grunstrom, Kolosov. Like, it's been a revolving door, and it really hasn't mattered that much for him. I'm impressed.
And we took Murchison, gave him back, and then he got hurt. Took McDonald for a little bit. He was on that road trip with us.
Hell, even Andre to an extent. He had Andre at times.
Jennings. He had Jennings for a little, lost Jennings for a little bit. So I think it definitely speaks to how good of a coach he is, that they've somewhat had their head stay above water. But I mean, in the AHL, basically every team makes the playoffs. So unless they completely fall apart.
Look at how NHL ready Denver Barkey looks. Like, I don't even have a thought of sending him back to the AHL. It doesn't seem remotely necessary to me. And frankly, I was expecting not to see him for another 2 years. Like, what? And look, Barkey's a certainly coach's favorite type of player that was going to pick up on the details fast. No question about that. But Snowden took a player I wasn't even expecting to see until next year at the earliest, and turned him into somebody who was NHL ready in December. That is remarkable.
I also think Barkey's one of those players that just better suits the NHL because he's playing with other smart players who are doing their jobs and actually in their positions that they need to be in. I think that
actually took the words right out of Snowden's mouth. Snowden himself said that.
Did he really?
Yes, he said exactly those words too.
That's funny. Well, it's true.
Well, that's the other thing that I find legitimately impressive about him, is that he will talk about this stuff, and he will talk about it in a way that you can understand it, but it does not sacrifice detail at all. It shows complete understanding of the topic. Yeah. Hockey players, actually. Yeah.
Actually a pretty decent segue, because I wanted to talk about, do you think that there's any player on the team right now that has taken a step forward because of Rick Tocchet? Do you think Tippett is because of Rick Tocchet?
Yes and no. As in, I feel like part of the reason Owen Tippett looks so much better is because he looks so much better in contrast, which I can attribute to Rick Tocchet negatively. But also, I do think that Rick Tocchet has added a little bit of a structure to Owen Tippett's game that was not there previously. So I do think Owen Tippett is your best case for this player has taken a legitimate step forward under Rick Tocchet. And even then, I don't know that it was a massive step forward.
No, I don't think so either. How many points does he have right now? Let me look it up for you.
I mean, it kind of makes the point that I'm sitting here like maybe one guy.
Yeah. I'm actually starting to think. Brink, I don't think, is taking a step. He has 34 points in 53 games. Tippett.
That sounds like an Owen Tippett season to me.
Yeah, sounds like a normal Owen Tippett season. He had 43 last year.
Yeah. So he'll probably get a little bit more. I also think he's on the ice more this season, though I'm not entirely sure.
He's on the ice almost 30 seconds more this season.
All right, so not a huge amount, but I would expect that to translate a little bit to production.
It's funny. He had 2022, 2023, 17 minutes and 26 seconds that game. And then the next year, 16:35, almost a whole minute less.
Yeah, Torts was kind of falling out of love with Owen Tippett. You could sense it.
Torts fell out of love with everyone, dude.
Fair enough. Somehow, I actually do believe this, that Charlie was saying basically he hated the entire team except Michkov by the end. I don't think Charlie directly said that, but I do think he kind of heavily implied it.
Well,
and
I
it's
know.
like, if that is actually how he felt, then maybe I have to apologize to the terrorist because that's how I felt by the end there.
No, I think he said it in one of those ESPN or in between periods that he was like actually extremely upset that he wasn't able to go coach Matt Fay for another season.
Oh, did he say that publicly?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he did.
Wow.
That was the one thing that he was most upset about, was that he was not able to coach that kid one more year. So,
and I mean, frankly, by the comparison of what he got afterwards, I'd rather another year of the terrorists. So we're in agreement.
Definitely think his offensive system was better than whatever we have now. Like, you would think.
The thing is, like, there's a reason I stuck so hard with calling Torts a terrorist, because, like, I actually think he is in many ways a good coach who knows what he's doing. And he just has a way of going about things, and he knows it. He is terrorizing people on purpose. He knows he's doing it, and he does it anyway. So it's like, yeah, no, you're kind of a terrorist. But what I'm implicitly saying is he does know what he's doing. With Rick Tocchet, I stopped calling him the Antichrist because I am thoroughly convinced he just doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Wait, when you were talking about the difference between Tocchet talking about a player and then Snowden talking about a player, Snowden said about Barkey what I just said. And then Tocchet's like, yeah, go watch Crosby. Yeah, I told that guy to watch video of that guy because that guy reminds me of that guy.
Go watch some Marty St. Louis, bro.
Okay, he's definitely on Twitter, by the way. He's definitely on X with a burner.
I'm convinced he is.
Not that much to talk about left. You want to anything on your mind? I think that Konecny comment we could probably talk about before we wrap up.
Yeah,
probably find it real quick.
Yeah, like Konecny dropping a trade request. Not really, but Konecny coming as close as humanly possible to dropping a trade request without dropping a trade request.
Here we go.
For the offense, the hot hand visibly, obviously for the offense. How you've been feeling out there individually, and obviously you're trying to get a spark here.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating because you're just trying to. I've been through this so many times. I'm tired of missing the playoffs. That's kind of all I look at right now. I just want to get points for the team, and we need to figure something out.
Is this one tonight?
I thought that was interesting. Now I was talking to Jake Farringer, I think his last name is. Jake, I'm sorry if I butchered your last name, on the timeline about it like an hour or two ago. I don't necessarily think that it was Konecny giving up on the season or saying that he was done or requesting a trade. I do think it was a human moment for him. But I do think it was kind of a slip in a way of kind of I don't think he's admitting that they're not going to make the playoffs, but I just think it was a really interesting thing for a guy with an A on his sweater to say. I'm tired of missing the playoff implies that he thinks that they're probably going to miss it again this year. No,
I almost pay attention to the tone more than the specific words he said. Like, that is a player who is defeated. That is a player who is almost like spiritually broken at this point. And if even Travis Konecny, who is producing right now, is at that level, is at that level of depression, then I think it speaks volumes to where the rest of the locker room is at, which is like, get him a suicide hotline number. Like, things can't be good in there.
Yeah, it's actually pretty. I mean, Jesus Christ, but it's actually a pretty good point. I didn't
What's
even
funny
think
is
about
like
it.
I'm not even fully joking, because we all know how seriously professional athletes take their professional sport of choice.
No, but in the sense of he's the best point producer in the last 5 games or 12 games.
And he sounds
games,
like that.
And he sounds that defeated, which, I mean, it's not surprising, because me and you talked about it on the timeline earlier. Like, I blame the organization more than I blame him. Like, are you turning down an 8-year deal worth $9 million a year?
Of course not, especially
when it's right in front of you.
Like,
well, hold on. When it's right in front of you, it's with the team that you've been with since you were 18 years old. You have a family, you have a wife, you have kids here, and they're handing you 8 years and $9 million. You're comfortable here. You're going to be the number one option. You play power play 1, you play PK 1, you play the most 5v5 minutes. I'd probably sign that deal too. It's on the organization to put a team around somebody, a 27-year-old signing an 8-year deal. It makes that's always been our thing, TLY's thing. Like, I got that Fuji Predator dude who has us blocked on Twitter talking shit. Oh, that podcast doesn't know anything. They think Konecny sucks. That's never come out of our mouths. Maybe jokingly, but it has never seriously come out of our fucking mouths. We have never actually sat down here and said Konecny is a bad hockey player, because if you actually think that, you don't know hockey. But the whole point was that contract, you're signing a 27-year-old to an 8-year deal. That tells me that you want to center whatever team that you're going to build around him. And I know he doesn't make that much money with the cap going up. I get that, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is the Flyers would be in a better spot right now if they maybe considered moving on from him. Because you would have had extra cap space, extra draft capital to maybe go get Quinn Hughes, to maybe go get a center. Because you have an abundance of wingers. That in the reality, people don't like to hear this because they get so connected with these players. Like, Konecny is a good player. I understand. I'm not saying let's trade Konecny because he's bad. I'm actually saying the opposite. I'm saying let's trade Konecny because he's the only fucking player on this team worth anything. He's the only fucking player on the team that's going to get anything worth of value back. He's the only player on this team that could probably get back a Robert Thomas if you include him in a deal. That's the only reason why we say these things. But these people contort our words into us thinking that we're saying that he sucks. And it's extremely frustrating when you have people on it. I usually don't respond to people like that on the podcast, but it's just so fucking, because he's not the only person who says that about us in terms of like the Konecny thing. It's just like, that's not where we were coming from. We have never said let's trade Konecny for a bag of pucks. We want to trade Konecny because he's the only one that can actually bring something that we need back. We need a center. We need a defenseman. And if we have to package a Tippett with a first-round pick or a Konecny with a bonk and a first-round pick, that's what you have to do. You have to get creative. You have to move off guys that you like. That's what happens. Like, people in Flyers land, I'm just going to say, they get way too attached to these players. I was a huge Morgan Frost guy. I mean, me and BT used to go at each other. I was like 17, 18 years old going at this grown-ass man about Morgan Frost. But at the end of the day, you got to be objective about things. It didn't work out. You move on. Did I like seeing him get traded? No, it sucked. That was my guy. But you can't get attached. I mean, I know comparing Morgan Frost and Travis Konecny. I mean, I can see somebody saying that you're going to compare Morgan Frost and Travis Konecny. They're not even in the same realm. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just like, stop getting too attached to these players. We see teams all over the league make tough decisions. The Florida Panthers traded for Brad Marchand. Could you imagine if Brad Marchand had the history that he had with Boston, but with Philly, in Philly? That motherfucker would still be playing at 55 years old with a contract. We would have never got rid of him. Look how long it took us to trade Scott Lawton. But Boston can trade a Brad Marchand who has won cups for them. That's what I mean. You can't get too attached to players. And we do. Not just the fans, the organization.
And that's the big problem is, if fans want to get attached to players, that's their business. Now, I do think if you're trying to analyze the situation of the team, you have to put that to the side. But generally speaking, if fans want to get attached to players, that is the prerogative of fans. That's almost what we fan for. But the front office can't get attached to these players, and they routinely do.
Yep.
And
Look
they
at
did it with
Dvorak.
Christian Dvorak. We just said that at the same time, but they fell in love with Christian Dvorak. He's like, oh my God, this guy's such a bonus for the culture. We love having him around. We need to give him a 5x5. No, you don't.
It's that deal's so fucking bad, man. And it's like it's not the player. The player's he's been good. He's been good.
The player's been perfectly acceptable. I wouldn't say
He's been attached to Travis Konecny's hip.
Exactly. Like, yeah, he's going to score more points attached to Trevor Zegras and Travis Konecny than he would otherwise. But even accounting for that, he's been a perfectly cromulent center, I suppose, which is, frankly, more than I can say for most centers in the Philadelphia hockey organization.
I tweeted out, I feel bad for TK, to be honest. I'd be tired of this shit, too. And somebody who always talks with us, shout out him, Doc Knower of Ball, says, I can't feel bad for the guy who signed up for 8 years of this shit. Which I totally understand where you're coming from. He signed on the dotted line. I guess you could say he knew what was coming, which, I mean, I don't think he did. I mean, I think in his mind, it's like, okay, I'm going to sign this deal, and they're actually going to start making some creative moves, putting some talent around me. And they have. I mean, you got Zegras and Michkov, you got Martone coming, but they need more, obviously. We all know that. But then me and you turn around and say, that's fair, but at the same time, what did you say? Hockey players don't think like that.
Exactly. Like, yeah, NBA stars, some of them will flat out sit with you and make you explain to them what your plan is for the next 5 years, or they're not going to extend. And you know what? In some ways, that is healthier. In some ways, it is a lot healthier to make front offices show their work. But just for a number of reasons, that's not how hockey players function. And any hockey player, if you're going to put that contract in front of them, they're going to sign it. And you as a front office have to understand that and put not only yourself in the best position, but Travis Konecny. Yeah, okay, on the downside, he has to move his family. And I'm not trying to trivialize that totally, but I am saying, would he much prefer to move once and go to somewhere like Vegas and compete for the cup every year, or not move, but also end up sounding like this? That man sounds so far beyond depressed, it's sad.
Dejected. Extremely dejected.
I had read the quote, so I knew what was said, but I hadn't listened to him saying it. I was stunned when you played it right there. That is a man who sounds
that was the first time you heard it?
psychologically broken. Yes. Like, that was bad. I don't think a player sounded that dejected at any time during the last 2-3 years before this. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing an instance, but I'm not missing many. That is bad.
And that's what happens when you go 4-8-2 in the month of January after you thought that you were going to be a playoff team. I mean, they're the 8th worst team in the league right now. I just got done saying.
They signed Dvorak to fire up the boys and prove that they were a playoff team and that the front office believes in them. And then, boom.
Yep. Here we are. Let's talk about the Panarin thing right before we wrap up. I don't think there's too much else to talk about.
Nah.
We will be back either Sunday or Monday for the next episode. I want to get back-to-back ones out because there is a ton to talk about with this team. But the Panarin thing was interesting. Where did that come from? Let me try to find that. Freeman. On Panarin. And then this is from Jay on Twitter. Shout out Jay. One thing that they have to do over the Olympic break. Now, this is Freeman talking about the Flyers and Michkov, obviously. One thing that they have to do over the Olympic break is talk about how can we get Michkov going the last 6 weeks. The only priority should be Michkov finishing strong. Can Philly make this deal? I put Philly in there because they would have gone after Kaprizov, which is extremely cool to hear. They should be going after a guy like Kaprizov, but I think one way that we can get Michkov going is maybe putting him over in his natural position. That'd be a fucking start.
Yeah. Now, I will say, so if we are just on full on everything possible to help Michkov mode, and you want to sacrifice some future assets to Artemi Panarin, I think you can make that case. Here's why. Here's how I explained it in the subsection group chat.
Wait, hold on. You're making a case for them to actually go get Panarin right now?
Yes, but I'm not fully believing the case. I'm just kind of saying this is how I could see the logic. If you're
playing devil's advocate with it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Say you understood for a fact or near a fact that getting someone like Panarin to be around Michkov for a couple of years is the difference between him ending up as Kevin Fiala or Nikita Kucherov. How much would you give up to get Nikita Kucherov instead of Kevin Fiala? The answer is a ton.
A lot.
And Kevin Fiala is still a really good hockey player, obviously. That's not me dumping on Fiala. I really like Fiala. But because so much rides on Michkov, if the front office is sitting there saying, we need a guy who kind of thinks like him, has been in a similar situation to him, it's less of a culture shock because, there's a difference between being a Russian player who's fighting to stay in the lineup and being a Russian player with the expectations of Matvei Michkov. So are they thinking that, we need somebody who kind of understands what he's going through and speaks his language and is from his culture to really help him be the best version of himself for us? If that is the determination that they've made, the answer is yes, I would expend a lot of assets to determine that sort of future for Michkov. Now, here's what I'll say. If I've made that determination, I'm not just going to stop at Panarin. I'm going to move him back to the right wing because I know that makes things easier for Michkov. I'm probably going to get a new coach because I know that'll make things easier for Michkov. So if you want to tell me that we are overhauling everything and the new mission in life is to make Matvei Michkov's life easier, I'm all aboard.
Well, that's Friedman saying that. That's not the team coming out and saying that.
Well, true. But at the same time, I think if Friedman's getting it, it's out there. Friedman's he's the one insider that if he's talking about something, it's legit. And actually, I think DeMarco can take a bit of a victory lap on this because wasn't he talking about the Flyers were having some interest in Panarin?
I think he was, yeah.
So now we have Friedman backing it up and taking a bit of a different angle with it, but I think it's a very good angle. If you do think that Panarin and Panarin's presence, both on the ice and off the ice, will materially help Michkov, then there is a reason to value that over whatever the hell you're going to trade for Panarin. I'm totally on board with that idea.
This is a crazy conversation.
Kind of is nuts, right? Because it's
a crazy combo.
Notice how I did not once mention Artemi Panarin helping the Flyers become a contender because he himself won't. But, I do understand that, yeah.
Another winger to Philadelphia.
You know what? In another way, I am admiring of the bit. I am just so admiring of their dedication to this bit. They are determined to get the most creative, skilled wingers of all time.
Ever.
But the downside is they do not believe in anything above a 3C.
Dude, this guy's still really fucking good too, man. He's got 57 points in 52 games this year.
That's the thing. And he's playing on the downtrodden Rangers. The Rangers are as bad as an organization can be without Adam Fox around. And it's he's still doing that. He is a legit superstar in the league, even still at 34 years old.
It's crazy that he's that old, man.
Yeah, right. And it's funny because it's I can't sign a 34-year-old to any degree, any amount of a contract. I do understand that as far as I can't give a 34-year-old 8 years. I would give Artemi Panarin more than I give most money or more than I give most 34-year-olds. And here's why. he has already made aging curves his bitch that I don't know when this ends. Like, for all I know, Artemi Panarin might be 45 and drop an 85. Like, at this point, aging should have gotten him a half decade ago.
Here's my thing with possibly throwing money at him. I would have thrown the money that we gave Dvorak at him. But now with Dvorak, with that contract, I don't know if I'm willing to give a 34-year-old what he wants. He's going to want probably, 5-6 years?
Yeah, probably. Something like that.
How old is he? 34? Take him. I don't know. Does he want a contract that takes him to 40?
Yeah, if he probably doesn't want that long. If he does want that long, it's probably the AAV won't be nearly as big as it could be. I don't think he wants another like 8x12 or 7x12.
What do you think he's going to get? Because he makes 11.6 right now.
I mean, first of all, he's worth that money right now. Like, for taking the years out of it, that is about where he should be, 12 million-ish. So,
I don't think the Flyers are going to do that. There's no way.
Well, they have cap space for it.
I don't know. That's not why I said it. I didn't say it in the sense of they can't.
No, I know, but
I don't know.
It's funny because it's like I have to adhere to my own rules, and I'm thinking out loud with this whole segment because I am sort of torn about it. But abiding by my own rules, what have I always said? If you have a superstar free agent in front of you, don't say, but I could potentially get a better superstar free agent 3 years from now. Because we did this when people were talking to me about, no, Derek, we can't go sign Marner. And I'm not saying Marner would have come here, but all the people were like, we can't go sign Marner because Eichel is going to be available next year if we just wait. No, he's not.
I don't think Marner knows there's a fucking hockey team in Philly, dude.
I don't think he does either. But, just based on that, because I had that conversation with people. If you could sign Mitch Marner at Philly, you had to do it. That was my opinion. So being somewhat consistent, as long as it's not outrageous, and if you do think it'll be a legitimate benefit to Michkov, which, based on what Friedman's saying, if they were going to do this with Kaprizov too, and now Kaprizov, part of it's just because you really want that guy, but if they were going to do this with Kaprizov too, and they did this with Kuzmenko to an extent, but I guess they decided that experiment wasn't worth continuing. They are clearly looking for a skilled Russian to play off him with. They are really looking hard for that. And it makes some sense because, the Red Wings had a freaking Russian 5. Getting Russians to... Okay, I just got faked out by a sneeze. But
that's crazy, bro. You just made me yawn.
Funny. But anyway, that makes some sense to me as far as getting Michkov, a legitimate Russian who sees the game in many of the same ways he does, partially as a mentor figure, partially as just somebody who's around who kind of knows what he's going through, and partially as somebody who sees the same shit he does to play with. That all makes sense to me. But I do think if you're going to make that decision, you have to lean fully into making life easier for Michkov. It can't be, we'll get him Panarin, but we won't take any other measures that we know could be easier.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's what doesn't really make sense about it. It's if you want, there are things that you can do that doesn't include going out and signing a 34-year-old to a $12 million deal for free. You could do a lot of things right now with him. That's probably the only way that you could spin this that I would be willing to hand him 5 years.
This is Michkov's team right now, and we like having Panarin around as both a mentor figure and a number 2.
But it's also not even in the sense of just a guy to follow, like a Zamula who's literally just there to translate and make sure he's comfortable. He's actually a really good fucking player too, so it's not like he's washed up or anything.
Exactly.
They have a lot of cap space too. They're going to have $35+ million this offseason.
Oh, and by the way, somebody like Artemi Panarin is going to make it easier to sell to fans. You should buy season tickets to come watch not only Matvei Michkov and Trevor Zegras, but also Artemi Panarin.
I said that to Johnny today. I said if they actually would do that, I mean, think about the money that they're going to make off jersey sales, ticket sales. I mean, they can promote them. Michkov and Panarin.
I want to watch Artemi Panarin in a Flyers uniform, okay? I'm not even saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying, like, I want to see it.
They would shut you up for a little bit.
Yeah, like I'll rant about it 2 years from now, bro. Let me enjoy a couple Artemi Panarin dangles, okay?
It's funny because we'd have like Couturier 4C making 7.75. I mean 7.750. Panarin making 12. Konecny making 8.7. I said 9 million earlier. It's 8. I always forget it's not quite there at 9. Yeah, with him.
The bit is so funny though. Best winger core of all time, and then the literal Avengers.
Yeah, that's bit.
Like
actually, Derek, the joke's on you. The joke's on you because Jack Berglund is elite. Jack Berglund is our Sebastian Aho, my friend.
All right, you know what? Fair. I guess that is the reason to get Artemi Panarin if you think about it.
We don't need no fucking centers. We don't need Mason McTavish. We don't need Manny Beniers. We don't need Shane Wright. We don't need any of these dudes. Not one of them. We have the Avengers at wing, and we have Artemi Panarin.
All right, you know what? I'm in.
And you know what? And Sam Ersson bait. No, I'm just kidding. Wait, you know what's funny? I saw who came out with a tweet. Fuck, I don't know who it was. But they were like, the Flyers are not going to make any changes or trade Ersson away or try to upgrade. I'm like, and I saw a lot of people complaining. I'm like, good. Why the fuck would you want to go out and try to upgrade the goaltending position at this point?
Yeah, seriously. That would be a terrible thing for the tank. And we're in tank mode right now, guys. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, they're 10 points out. They haven't put together a 3-game winning streak all year. They're a 5-game winning streak out of the league playoffs.
Dude, January was fucking bad, bro.
Like, they got
January was bad
all through January. Kind of like what we were saying would happen.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, maybe that should have been the title of the podcast. Somebody pick up that phone because we fucking called it.
I think Jim Jackson said it on the broadcast yesterday. Everything started to fall apart after Kucherov decided to
just
fucking destroy us. Just decimate us completely. We lost to Tampa back-to-back. 7-2 was the first loss at home. Then we lost 5-1 on Monday. Then we lost to Buffalo. Then we lost to Pittsburgh. And then we got destroyed at home against the Rangers. And then we won that game against Vegas where Konecny was good.
And they otherwise got completely outplayed. So, you know.
Yeah, so if you were to look at this, the two teams that we won against were fucking Vegas and Colorado.
Go figure.
I mean, obviously you have Anaheim the 6th, but I'm talking about after that Lightning debacle. And then we have a game tomorrow at 12:30 against the Kings. So we'll see. We'll be back Sunday or Monday for episode 124.
Panarin will be a Flyer by then. No, kidding. He won't be. But
when do you think he's going to get traded? It's definitely happening. I just don't know when.
It's probably soon if they're at the point to like you're not playing another game until the Olympics. So
it's definitely. Oh, it was definitely before the Olympic break. I just didn't know if you had any.
Yeah. So you know what? At this point, the Artemi Panarin trade might literally have gone down by the time we get back on the air. And I don't mean just to Philly. I mean to anywhere.
It might go down right now. I don't have my phone open, so
yeah. For all I know, maybe he is actually a Flyer as we speak. Somebody's going to come in. They did it. They sent Michkov to New York.
No. I'm just going to say they did it. They did it. Oh, what they do? Michkov for Panarin. It's a 1-for-1 deal. February 4th is the freeze. Yep. So.
Yeah. So
they do not
happen by then, seemingly.
Bonk, first round pick. Bump. I don't give a fuck. Fuck it.
We ride.
Could you imagine if? I mean, like, he's not going to get traded for anything crazy. I mean, he's a 34-year-old pending unrestricted free agent. And I know he's still a point per game, but it's not going to be like some blockbuster trade. It'll be for something decent. I mean, they're not going to get nothing for him, but I'm very curious to see what it's going to be because I don't think it's going to be what people actually think it's going to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like I think we could legitimately pay the price if we wanted to, and it wouldn't be like bank breaking.
No. Yeah. Man, this is actually kind of exciting. I don't think they're going to do it. Part of me doesn't want them to do it.
I don't
but
know.
It would be fun.
There is a part of me that's sitting here going, yeah, Panarin, Michkov, Zegras, Martone.
Yeah.
Those are my wingers, man. Like
Berglund.
Yeah, sure. Throw him in.
I'm just fucking with you. Jack Nesbitt.
At this point, maybe even Nesbitt's worth something.
Rodrigo Abels.
Oh, yeah, there's the line right there. Panarin, A-balls, Michkov.
Michkov. That's what we probably see. That's probably what we see. All right. This has been episode 123 of the Liberty Yell. You can find my on X at Chris Stumps. You can find Derek's at Suitable Alias. Like I said, we will be back for episode 124, either Sunday or Monday. And go Fly.